Welcome, Fine Line Friday, Chad. How you doing, man?
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm
made
ready.
it through the week. Made it through the week. So Monday, let's just kind of paint how this week went, at least from my standpoint. Monday, show up and it's like everything's on fire. Okay, what are we doing? Marching orders. The team needs their marching orders. So we make it through the end of the day. Tuesday, we're trudging through, making things happen. And then Wednesday, we realize that we're not really where we wanted to be. So what do? Thursday, come in swinging, make some sales, get some traction. And then Friday hits. And we're like looking back at the week and we say, do we do it all? And I think you put it best. You can always use more sales. How was your week?
So I'm hearing you on that, right? Like Monday is meeting day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday just have to be your execution days. And there is too many times when I get to Friday and I ask myself, like, what did I do? Right? Like, how many meetings did I run or whatever it is? And I got to go back in my calendar because I can't remember because it's just these firefighting drills. And that's what I love about doing these Fine Line Fridays, right? Because we're going to take 30 minutes and we're going to work on the business. And you just said it, right? Like you can always use more sales, right? We can always work on growing our business. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today, which is let's just say hypothetically, you know what? I don't have enough sales reps, or I need to better clarify what my sales reps are supposed to do. So, how do we know the difference between a sales rep and an account manager? Because there's been so many times where I've spoke to different contractors and they tell me what they have, right? They'll say an account manager and I'll say, "Oh, what do they do?" And it's like, "Well, they go find new business." Right? Or we'll talk and it's like, "Oh yeah, I got a sales rep." It's like, "Well, what sales rep, what does they do?" It's like, "Oh, they take care of these people." So, I'm excited about this because today we actually get to unpack the difference between sales rep and account manager. And I think you had a really, really good question to be able to start this off with. So I'm going to ask you the question. What's the difference between a sales rep and an account manager?
Yeah, because that's ultimately what this is about, right? And I think sales reps, account managers mean different things to different businesses
Mm-hmm.
entirely. So I kind of asked the question, what is it that you offer your market? Do you sell roof replacements? Do you sell coatings? Do you sell custom metal? Do you sell service? And if you say yes to a lot of those things, I think it diversifies the role or the position drastically versus more of a transactional type sell a large job and then there's not really much going in between the next interaction with hopefully selling them another job. So I kind of go back to what it is that you offer the market and then hiring those positions to satisfy bringing that product to market, where salespeople, and we can also define these positions almost in buckets because I think sales reps, maybe estimators, business development could go into, well, business development can go into potentially both buckets, but that's bucket one. And then bucket two is more of like your retention style naming convention. And you've seen a lot of business cards, and I always like to look at the titles on those business cards or the emails that come into my inbox. What are the titles? And do I understand what that person does? I'm always trying to search what's that position? What does this person do? But in your experience too, titles that fall into different buckets. Let's kind of make sure we're starting off on the same page.
It's a massive, massive part when assigning a title to an individual because there's so much that comes with a title, right? Is it and I've went through this and I've heard a lot of different stuff. So you ask what titles, right? So like sales manager, regional sales, and we can do the same thing for account manager, right? Director of accounts, regional account manager, dedicated account manager. We can do whatever we want to it. And I've even seen some that's like director of excellence, right? Where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like up and it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
But my goal today is to get crystal clear on the difference between an account manager and a sales rep. And if I'm understanding you right on what you said, I mean, the first thing is to be able to figure out what products do you have, right? Solutions, services, whatever we want to call it. And then I think the second part that you were kind of getting to is how often do those clients interact with us or come back for additional work? Because if, like you said, if you're a specialty in wall panels, you might only get one opportunity to work with that client. assuming you're not
Mhm.
going through a GC or something like that, right? But if you offer service, it's going to be a much more common frequency, especially inside the commercial world, that they're going to need you for, might be drain cleaning. They might need you for leaks. They might need you for budgets, where they're going to need you a lot more commonly. Is that kind of where you're going with it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's incredibly fair and a better way to explain it, because then all of a sudden the role changes, right? Where the buying exists over a longer period of time, or the potential for sale exists over a longer period of time versus multiple stops, multiple interactions, multiple times or chances to take care of customers, then that pool of titles opens. And there's a lot of different titles, but I think a lot of them will fall under the umbrella of what we're calling an account manager. I think it all kind of connects. And I think that it even opens up further when you offer, let's just say, products less than capital work, because I think that that's what broadens the pool, especially business development, account managers outside. I think when you see the word sales, it's people are seeing that more as a deterrent
Yep.
now more than ever. Are you seeing that too? Kind of like, all right, sales, guards up. You see that.
I've heard recommendations of putting manager on it, right?
Mm,
And I always come back to like, all right, what are they managing? But again, it goes back to a couple different things. Number one is the employee themselves. If they have manager on there, right, they feel like it's a more important title. But then when you dive deeper into the headspace of that, it's a title. But then they will tell me that if it says manager on their card, that they'll be more respected by the prospect or candidate or customer client, right? So there's a lot to unpack with that, right? When you're putting it together of how is your company going to define these roles, and what's going to be successful for you guys.
no question. In the very beginning too, you're kind of setting the tone. Darren, my business partner, he's always thinking ahead. He's like, all right, you got customer success one, customer success two,
Mhm.
thinking ahead. And it's true for contractors who, let's say it starts with just you. You're making all the sales, you're ordering all the materials, you're, invoicing all the jobs, you're managing the projects. But then when you hire the first salesperson, you got to kind of think beyond that. Well, what's my next hire going to be? Next year, in the next 5 years, the next 10 years? Where do I want to take this? Because what you don't want to do is handicap yourself into some kind of naming convention, and it's awkward to branch onto that. You ever see that happen where, well, what's this person going to do? What's their title? I know what they need to do, like from a job standpoint, but what are they more responsible for doing bigger picture?
So that's beautiful because that's where everything starts with my side, and especially if you're an owner, right? And you're bringing your first sales rep in. Ultimately, you're trying. This is an assumption, right? But you're trying to offload something so you can work more as an owner, right, and less as a sales rep. Let's just say that. And I use sales reps specifically because um, what you have to do is define the measurable success that when you hire this person, how are you going to know that they're doing what you need them to do? And I know that might sound like a simple question, but what is the measurable of it? Is it that they're going to take your existing clients and they're going to give you more time because your clients are calling you for all of these leak calls or whatever it is, right? I'm fine with that because this is you as an owner, right? This is you as growing your team. What is that measurable definition of success? And I use measurable. This is the hardest part of all of it when you're starting to define the basics because there have been too many times that I've seen people stay in businesses or get let go because of a gut feeling. It's like, I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think he's working out. Right? It's like, yeah, I don't really know. He doesn't really jive too much and like I don't like him. Right? I've heard all kinds of things on why people have stayed with the company, which is, yeah, no, he's not where he needs to be, but you know what? I like him. I think he's trying really hard. We're gonna keep him.
Oh,
And measurable is the key. That is the one key that I can share with you guys. What is the measurable that they are going to be defined on success? And I think that's where all of this starts. Not sales rep, not account manager, not whatever it is, makes no difference. What is the measurable definition of success?
I think that's really important to understand. And yes, some of it is gut, right? It's not all 100%
Mhm.
measurable, but it should be. You should have, when we were bringing on or hiring sales reps, or account managers, we actually, we tried it all. We tried sales managers, we tried account managers. What we landed on, because of the products that we offered the market, were they were all account managers, and it wasn't senior, it wasn't junior, it was just account managers. We had 8 of them, and when we're trying to bring these people in, we're like, okay, what are they going to be responsible to do? And we had it boiled down into the number of touches that they had to go do. Because when you hire a salesperson or account manager, both, their phone isn't just ringing, unless that's the position and you have an active client base, and you brought someone on to satisfy that need. But the measurables were, you're expected to go out into the marketplace and make X number of attempts every single week, and in return, for our investment, you're going to get on X amount of roofs. Hopefully you get on those roofs, you're going to capture data, do it in this format, bring it to the client, right? So we did have specific measurables in place for the sales side. And as we matured onto the account management side, it was more, we need to manage this book of business. So we evolved from naming people sales roles to account management roles, because of our book of business evolved and the products that we offered that book of business. And I think it was really important for us to get the right hires to obviously retain that client base, but we also wanted to grow it too. So for you, in these measurables, outside of, I guess, in all employees that you hire, what do you suggest that they focus on if they don't have measurables currently?
And I know that's a really simple answer, right? So what you said, and I was processing inside my head, it supported what I believe as an account manager, right? So an account manager is there to be able to manage accounts, which at an even deeper level, what you were looking for was for your clients to return to you, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, they were going to get a set of accounts, whether they had to develop it on their own, or there was accounts that were assigned to them through the company. Maybe they had local buyers, whatever it is. But the idea is that they were going to have a set of customers that were consistently or reoccurring buying from them, right? Because we're on the service side. And the idea is that they were going to grow that book of business in order to be able to hit their goal. Does that make sense? And is
Yeah.
that aligned to kind of how you
One,
envisioned it?
100%. That's exactly what it was.
So you wanted them to be able to have a book of business that they could manage. And that to me is what an account manager is. Account manager is focused on those long-term relationships. Now, you asked the question, I'm going to go back to it before we talk about sales reps, right? Like if you don't have measurables, how or where do you start? And it starts with the end. What is it that that individual needs to bring in? And let's just go high level, revenue wise, right? So we can look at averages. So if you have other sales reps, let's see what the other sales reps are bringing in. That might be a starting point for what your averages could be. That's number one. Number two is you can look at your sales and say, okay, how much of this do you logically, because as an owner, you carry a lot of weight, you carry a lot of name, you know your company better than anybody else. We don't want to set our salesmen up for failure. But what percentage do you want to offload in year one, year two, year three, right? Or whatever that duration might be to those individuals. So just start at the end. On a service side, one serviceman handles one truck. And I'd love to hear your side on that, right? So if we're talking commercial roofing, if I want 10,000 out of a truck, 500 a year, then let's set that up, right? And then we start breaking that stuff down, because if we need to sell 10,000 a week, it means we need to sell, right? We need to break that down, 40,000 a month, so on and so on. Then we can start breaking that down to a close ratio, right? If you need to sell 10,000 a week and your average close is, I'm just gonna say 5,000 to make it easy, right? You need 2 sales. So what's your
Yeah.
what average close ratio you had?
Yeah, we had a really high close rate because it was existing book of business, and that close rate was measured differently than the new sales book of business. But I mean, it was an 85% close rate based on all work, right? Replacement and service. Now it
That's
is, and it didn't start that way, right? It took a lot of work to get to that point, but clients just trusted that what we put in front of them was the right move on their part. When we looked at putting some of those measurables in place, and you're kind of talking about it from a standpoint of managing people and also having accountability, I think those are both important reasons. But the other thing that it gives you by having measurables is a way to depart. So if someone's not doing what they're expected to do, you can refer back to the measurables that you agreed upon. So it might, you might not want to do it, and I understand because I've been there, done that. But it's a really important practice to put in place because not everyone that you hire is going to make it, and not every departure is clean. So having that up front, holding people accountable, and it might not feel natural, but you got it, you should. It's recommended, it's best practice. And that's a lot of what Chad and I talk about, are best practice driven conversations. And like you said last time, I love the way you put it. These are coming from a place of failures, right? Or we've tried things or seen things be tried and are bringing to the result of all those trials.
Yep. Yep. And I like that you can use it both. We can talk positive all day long on how to get them, but if someone isn't performing, those measurables are beautiful. I've always been really, really big that no employee should ever be surprised they're being fired. Like, to me, that means a lot, right? And that's one of my core values, that if I'm going to let someone go, it's going to be, one, I'm going to pour in everything I can to make sure that they're successful. But more importantly than that, they should be well aware that they're not meeting goals, and they should be well aware of the actions that are needed to be able to meet those goals, right? So like that's me pouring into them, but I love that because you're absolutely right. You can use this as a way to be able to manage success inside your business. We can set averages, all that stuff. Now, 85%, dude, that is awesome. I will say that account managers, if you are managing an existing book of business, should probably be around 60%, something like that. 85, amazing, right? But they're managing relationships that we already have built. They're customers. They're based upon reoccurring revenue. Now, they might have to go and what we call scale, right? Which means go get more from them. Maybe there's another regional facility manager that we can get more business from. Maybe there's another property manager that's with a part of that property management company, right? Like, that's the scale side that I would use my account managers for. But it really consists, much like we started, it's about a book of business, right? It's about building a book of business based upon repeat clients or clients that we want to consistently do business with. You understand that?
Exactly. That was our biggest success, is growing within the current clients. We did a lot of work with schools. We did a lot of work with property managers. We did a fair amount of work with restaurants, and those client bases just really, and I feel like we did well. We were blessed at the same time, but we did a good job of taking care of these customers. So therefore, the close rate was a really close measurable of ours. Were we in pursuit of new business? Always, and I think that's important. And depending on your focus too, you could focus on getting more work from your existing customers. You can work on getting new customers. You could do both. And I think the diversity of everyone's company is a beautiful thing, because it goes back to, all right, who do I hire? What do I expect them to do? What's my tree of positions? What's my growth look like? My plans? If we were to kind of focus away from the account management side, because I think we all agree, right? Account management in CAP is to take care of your existing book of business and potentially extract more, but don't make it go down, make it go up, okay? And then maintain, have measurables in place. If I'm going to hire a salesperson, estimator, I think you and I would agree, the expectation is I want new customers, new work to come into the business.
So I call it grow versus scale, right? Or grow and scale, right? If you're an account manager, you're scaling that. You're getting more from what you have. And you're right. If we're going to talk about a sales rep is there really to be able to cultivate new opportunities, bring new blood into the business. Before I go into like part 2 of how does a sales rep become account manager, which I think we should hit that, right? Okay. But really, this is, you've even heard farm, hunting and farming, right? Same idea, grow or scale, right? We're growing the business, and growing the business means bringing new customers in, new blood. Now, you can absolutely be doing this with a vertical, right? You talked a little bit about how you like were in the restaurant side, right? Very wide industry, right? Of like, okay, we got Taco Bell. Can we go get KFC? Can we go get this, right? Doesn't It's not the scale side, right? Because if we were talking about an account manager would ultimately be growing KFC for every KFC side, right? But when we talk about a sales rep is going wider where your account manager is going deeper. Is that do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 100%, because while you could have one set of restaurants, for example, maybe national, maybe regional, maybe whatever, but then there's other. So for us, it was an example of scaling outward or across the vertical would be, hey, we did a lot of PVC, restaurants and PVC. That was a good niche of ours. So all these units where there's food involved, there's vents, there's grease, there's maintenance. Boom, that was a low hanging fruit. That was a selling point for us. Versus the schools, we performed really well with the school district. They loved the way that we gathered the data, we presented it, we killed it at school board meetings. That lended itself well to other school districts. 100%. I mean, all is true. And when you step back and you kind of figure out what you're good at and you want to do more of that, then your plan is to what? And that's kind of what we're talking about, is like putting these people in place to go get more of that type of work.
Yep. So your sales rep ultimately is going to get you new blood, new companies, new opportunities, all of that different stuff within your business, right? So we dove in deep on the account manager side. So your sales rep, if you want to bring a sales rep in, it means that you want more. And it could be more of what you have. So I do want to talk a little bit, if you're cool with it, about vertically scaling, right? Understanding your niche or understanding your business. Because every business, every good business understands what they do great, right? I had a big hold inside the self-storage world, and I held on tight to that because there were so many companies, right, that had storage units that ultimately I didn't have to go into Will's world, right, and go after restaurants because I had such a big hold, right, and even a wide net, if you will, that I had sales reps that were getting additional accounts. But then I also had account managers that were getting deeper into those accounts, right? Setting the roots and being able to scale with them. So being able to choose whether you want an account manager or you want a sales rep could really be you looking at your business, right? We talked about what products you have, but where are you at in your business, right? Do we have enough accounts in our business where, okay, we need someone to be able to handle these accounts because you as an owner, you're great and you love finding new customers. Beautiful. Do what you love, right? Or do we not have enough accounts? And that's the problem, is that we need to get more accounts, which at that point we can talk about bringing a sales rep on, which is going to, again, find us that new blood and bring that in. You agree with that?
Yeah. No, I do, and it's a hard world. We're all part of it. Hiring a new salesperson, and then the expectation to go out and secure new business. Where do you start? A lot of, I've seen a lot of cases where you hire 10 people and only two make it, right? Or maybe you can't hire 10 people all at once, but you start with two. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. But the time frame of when you hire someone in a sales role, and then the time until they're successful in their sales role, that could wildly vary. And maybe we don't have enough time to get too far into that. Maybe we can stay top level, because I'm looking at the clock like, man, we've already talked for 24 minutes already. But I think kind of painting the picture for what are the duties of a salesperson. We can hit on that, and then also what's the expectations weekly, monthly, yearly.
So I love that, but it also is going to be unique to your business. It's going to be unique to your products. It's going to be unique to your where you're based at in the U.S. Right? I'm out of Chicago, and I can tell you notoriously, December, January, and February are very slow months, very reactive months. There's no large projects that are going on. I have a couple companies that I work with that are out of Michigan that have a really unique business model that they don't do any large contract work during that time.
Mm.
So I say that because how is your business structured? Which again, start with the end in mind, right? What is the definition of success for this account manager or for this rep? And there's a lot of stuff we do within our training on the scale side, right? Which is setting goals per account. So it's not necessarily that they sell $1 million. It might be that we grow our share of wallet by 10%, right?
Mhm.
Start the really strategic stuff. I mean, that was a huge, huge part on how I grew with some of my accounts because I knew every regional facility manager I got approximately had 50 locations. And if they had 50 locations, that would result in X amount of work. Now, again, that's me starting with the end in mind. It wasn't a dollar amount, it was the number of properties. Because I knew if I had access to the properties, it would then give me access to more work. So I know I'm going into the ruts, right? I know I'm going deep into this, but those are the things that we really need to figure out if we're going to bring someone else on board. I want two things for my employees when I bring them on board. One, I want clarity. I want it to be crystal clear what they are here to be able to help this company do, right? What are they here to be able to help my company do? Is it find new customers or take care of the ones I have? And I mean, I'm going to go deeper than that, but again, high level, right? They got clarity on that. And the second thing, which is more important than clarity, is confidence. They have confidence that they understand exactly what they need to do in order to be able to hit the goal that they have. And I've always been a big, big supporter that I need to be able to give that direction, right? They're the artists. They can do whatever they want once they get out there. But I want to be able to give that direction to say, hey, based upon our business, we've had success within this sector. We're looking to be able to bring new customers in this sector, and this is how we've done it. Right. And I think you almost said that, Will, right? Like the number of contacts that they had to do. Like that number wasn't just out of thin air. I would assume that that number was based off of just historics and ways that you guys have had success. Am I somewhat right?
Yeah, I mean, for that role, it was we want them to be on two roofs a day, because two inspections a day, and with enough time in between to make your follow up calls and to, pursue, all of your follow ups or your touches in between. But if you got on two roofs a day, that's 10 a week. How much of that is quoted work, right? And our knowing our close rates, we knew that if they did that consecutively, then we're going to hit our sales goals. Now, earlier, before all of that, when we were hunting and needing to get new business, the metrics were quite different. It was literally get out in front of new schools, new restaurants, new property managers, make calls against that list, follow up against that list until you get on one of their buildings. And once you get on one of their buildings, a certain percentage of that's going to be repair quotes, a certain percentage of that's going to be replacement quote. But if we lead with the frontline activity, you start at the back, right? What's the end goal? If you go to the beginning, it's what's the activities necessary to contribute to that end goal. Centermark does it really well, and I know everyone has their opinion, but what they do really well is they know how many phone calls need to be produced by each sales rep that equals X amount of buildings that they get on. They know the percentage of the work that will be quoted from a repair standpoint, for a replacement standpoint. They know how many meetings it takes to close. And then they just manage off of the stats, right? And I think depending on the organization, you may love that world, sales, right? And go really deep into sales. Or you might go deep into the account management or nurturing side, or might be a hybrid. Like Chad's saying, everyone's business is different. But for the contractors that are especially seasonal and they are amping up for the next year, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Timing for when is the best time to hire a sales rep, considering the amount of training that needs to go into that sales rep and the time before they're out there hopefully producing for your company.
Um, I'm not going to get back.
Loaded
I'm not going to get back into that corner. Okay.
loaded question.
I am going to tell you time of year that I think is just kind of general. So right now, we're kind of late. We're in October right now, but budgets are happening right now for just about every company that works on a calendar year. Budgets are happening right now. So if you guys are not proactively submitting budgets to your customers based upon the data you have, there could be a lot of projects that don't happen in 2025 because we're not active and involved with our customers right now. right? So that's number one. Should you have hired a salesman a month ago? Yeah, if your business focuses on creating those proactive budgets so your customer can submit them and do them, yeah, you should have done it a month ago. You should have hired a month ago. Now, I'll also tell you that springtime is when everything starts, it starts raining, snow starts melting, whatever, vegetation was on the roof, all that kind of different stuff. That's springtime. So again, reactionary. If we're going to be hunting for new customers, there's never really more failures in a roof than right as soon as we get to that thaw into spring. Because again, those roof systems are expanding, contracting. They're basically a giant frozen pool that's up there. So yeah, that could be a really, really good time. It's the springtime to be able to hire somebody. Your winters are
Oh,
dead, right? I say that. I'm sorry. Winters aren't dead, but
I'm in
winters
Texas,
a little
man.
bit. Yeah, that's what I mean. Texas, different things like that. I'm thinking the northern side.
Yeah.
They're not dead, right? But a lot of times there's a lot of stall. You have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have New Year's. There's a lot of time that's taken off inside there. So notoriously for sales reps, sometimes it's harder to get in front of your customers, right? Until the second week of January. So if you hire someone right now, it could be a hard November, December, just because the holidays that are coming into play. So I don't think there's a perfect time to be able to hire somebody, but I think there is a strategic time to hire somebody, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, again, what do you want out of them? You talked about Cinemark, 1000%. And it's not that hard. Every rep is different. That's the one thing that I'll tell you is that some reps are going to be kick ass at setting meetings and cultivating and growing businesses. Some are going to be great at closing. Some are going to be great at managing customers. So at the end of the day, I always say start with the end in mind because if they need to sell 40,000 in service every single month, how we get there is how us as leaders help support our team. One person might need to make 400 calls. One person might need to make 200 calls. Why? Because one's better at cold calls than the other. Because I know we need so many meetings. I know we need so many inspections. I know we need so many quotes to get so many sales. You said it, right? Like that's the goal. There's a process that goes into this. So again, think about your company. Do you need a sales rep or do you need an account manager? Right? Your sales rep is going to help you get really wide, step into new clients, new blood, new opportunities with new people. Where your account manager is going to help you grow those roots and get really, really deep. That's going to be a huge part when you bring an account manager on because that's when you're going to start talking about okay, more properties, more square foot, maybe more contacts. I can use a bad example, but CB Richard Ellis, everybody will tell me they work with CBRE. And then I ask the next question of, okay, we got 34 inside Charlotte. How many of those 34 do you work with? And the answer is four. It's like, all right, you truly don't work with Richard Ellis.
Yeah.
That's real, and everybody's in that mark, and that's why I say let's really figure out what we want to do with the business and how this sales rep or account manager is going to help us. And like that's when you can start making the right hire because you're going to point your business in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better. So, Chad, we're at the end of our time. I really value these. It gives me another insight from another angle, and it helps me stay sharp. So, I really appreciate the time. We should do, or I think it's on the topics list. If not, we should add it to the topics list of account management, going really deep into that world. I think that would be really cool. How to get more out of your existing book of business. So, thank you, sir, and for y'all watching, appreciate the support.
Thanks, guys. See you next Friday. Two
See
Fridays.
ya. Two
Yeah.
Fridays.
See you guys.